Sometimes you think you have healed completely, but it's not always like that. Because the only time you know you have healed completely is that you can actually now come out and begin to talk about it. Not talk about it because you are seeking vengeance or something, but talk about it so that other people can learn from your experience and also begin to know that there is hope.
Welcome to the show. Now we are dedicating 1 hour, 60 minutes to this issue of sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria, based on the latest developments in the country where women actually crying out, and we've also had some men also crying out as to what is happening within the forums of several homes, houses, and what has been happening across the country. For more on this, I'm being joined now by Dr. Jackie IKOETUONYE, who is a victim of domestic violence herself and also the Chief Executive Officer of BFA Integrative Health and Wellness Clinic. So good to have you here, Dr. Jackie. Let's talk about this issue and how it's usually a private issue between a husband and his wife, and eventually it's something that's done in hush-hush until it becomes thrown out in the open, not because both parties want it to be thrown out to the public, but because, in one way or the other, we see the issues of violence coming in or deprivation of some sort. Just tell us why this is on the rise and your own experience.
Thank you so much for having me. Sometimes you just ask yourself, what exactly are we doing when we want to hide certain things from people? But you see, because of the society we live in a society where everybody wants to be seen as the perfect person, the perfect couple, the perfect marriage. You look at social media, everybody is celebrating their husband's birthday, my eye, my lord, my head, my honor, my this, The man goes, my wife, my idol, my this. Everybody wants that, But however, in reality, it's not so. Now, when you talk about my own experiences, there's what we call, over time I've discovered that there's a kind of domestic violence we call gaslighting. Gaslighting is one of the most dangerous types of domestic violence because you are made to be the one that is abusing. It looks as if you are the abuser. The one that is abusing you plays the victim. When he talks about it, talks about everything that happened, over and over and over, you begin to see yourself as the problem. There are different ways to kill somebody. You don't have to kill somebody physically. I remember in my own case, 2 days to my wife carrying, I got a slap. And in a normal situation, some people wouldn't go ahead. But like every other young girl, I set out to marry. I wanted to have a home. My husband, myself, my children. I wanted to have 7 children, 4 girls and 3 boys, You
had already dreamt about it.
And I wanted the girls first, But I just realized that as time went on, by the time I had the 3rd girl, it was as if I had committed a crime.
By not giving birth to a boy.
I grew up in a home. My father was, I think, the 2nd or 3rd senior advocate of Nigeria from the southeast. So he loved us, the daughters. So I thought that's how every man loved their daughters. So it was a rude shock, having my 3rd girl. I was expecting my husband to rejoice with me, and it was as if you have finished me, you have committed a crime.
Yeah, but you actually said during your wine carrying that you received
2 days to the wine carrying.
Yeah. Okay, 2 days to eat. You received this, smack by your husband to be. What effort did you make to actually let his parents know about that incident? Did you also tell your dad or your mom about it? Or you just thought it was part of, the entire marriage thing?
No, telling my dad was out of the question because he would have ended that marriage there.
And you were afraid of losing the marriage yourself?
Because you have gone too far. 2 days to wine carrying, how do you call off, And I didn't tell anybody. It never even came up. We just made up. And you see, let me tell you something about some of these abusive relationships. If you've lived for 5-10 years, every day is not just about abuse. There are moments of laughter, moments of cracking jokes, moments of friendship and all that.
Family outing and
you
all
know, that kind of thing. But there are certain things that will not just go away. You see, especially like I got married to a very toxic person who is very verbally toxic. Certain words stick to you. It's so difficult for you to forget. But you don't want to tell anybody, you don't want to be seen as, like we've been told in church, a good woman builds her home. You don't want to be that bad woman that did not build her home. So you continue with that. It doesn't matter how difficult it is.
Yeah, but having gone through that, sorry to intrude here, having gone through that, if you weigh the physical abuse with the emotional abuse, the verbal abuse, which of them actually struck you most as the strongest, that weighed you down, that made you think
the verbal abuse,
bad about yourself and all of that?
The verbal abuse, because I lost my self-esteem. I had no self-esteem. All this one that now we talk about purpose, your plan, your goal. I didn't know what that was. Verbal abuse, like when somebody tells you things that shakes the very core of your existence. Sometimes you think, oh, you've forgotten, because you keep forgetting. That's how we end up with 4. Okay? Because
it was just hidden there in your subconscious mind.
It was there in the subconscious mind. And and of course, I grew up in a home where my father loved me so much. So when I was getting married, a lot of people said, no, this one, she won't stay. She will soon come back. Her father won't let her, So I was out to prove them wrong. That's how come we spent 10 years.
So you had a personal challenge actually to your own self.
Yes, you know. So I wanted to prove them wrong that no, I can make this work. And that's how come I was able to tolerate a whole lot of, it's a book, because we can't go through. I remember when I had my last baby and some friends came to visit. By the time I had my last baby, I had started working. So I wasn't threatened by any, you give me money or you don't give me, it's none of my headache, And some friends came to visit and he was in a mournful mood, So the lady was like, what happened to Jackie? What happened to Jackie? He said, didn't you hear what happened? That she had another girl, So the girl was like, is she okay? Like, is that why you look so mournful? She had the 4th girl. So for me, maybe for me, what matters to me was that God helped me, because the kind of buttered upbringing I had, you would think this one won't be able to go into the labor room and come out. You know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of them said it, because when they saw me, when we first got to the village, they said, this one, can she even enter labor room? See the way that, that kind of thing. But God was so faithful. I walk into that labor room, I step out. So by the time I had the last one, I had the baby 31st. By the next day, which was a new year, I was already in my office in Linkserve, asking the accountant to process payment for me so I can pay my hospital bill. But after that, I knew that it can never be the same anymore. And the remaining 1 year plus that we lived before he left the country, it was like 2 strangers,
living in one room.
Living in.
Now, let's talk about the role of discussion. This is someone you love, you profess your love to, and he loves you too. Isn't there room for discussion? Did you have enough time to have a heart-to-heart discussion as to what exactly the problem was? And if it was the issue of giving birth to 4 girls, like you have said, what could happen next? And since it wasn't within your control or his own control, based on science, it's more on his own part than you. Did you have this heart-to-heart discussion?
I wouldn't talk about, things get to a point where it's no longer heart-to-heart discussion. Everybody's trying to run their own and maintain their own lane, even though everybody's still living in the same house, Because I remember, some of the things I share with my siblings after everything was over and all that, they keep asking me, when did this happen? You mean you actually went through all this, You have a discussion with somebody who actually wants to hold a discussion with you, okay? When the person sees you as his problem, there's nothing to discuss, because already there are some preconceived notions that you already, it's your fault, we didn't have a baby boy, your mates know what to do to have a baby boy, it's your fault, my business collapsed, it's your fault. So I was the one at fault. He was so perfect. There's nothing, everything fantastic about him.
Interesting.
Yes, you know, he even up to this moment. And that is how, you know, like those who practice that gaslighting abuse, that's how they behave. If you speak with him and hear his own side, you will say, bring Jackie, let's kill Jackie. Do you understand? Because he doesn't think that there's anything he has done wrong. I am the one that was left to single-handedly raise 4 daughters, train them up to the university level.
Now, do you think that his family upbringing or his own family may have had some influence? I mean, the extended family would have had some influence as to his own outlook. I mean, sometimes also men have been trained to think that, I mean, once you just get into marriage, you're just going to get boys and girls and all of that. But people are not properly groomed to know that it could actually go the other way around. And it could actually mean that both of you will be in the same house for years and don't even have kids. Was there any particular role that the extended family played that could have been helpful to keeping this marriage? And then when the abuses started coming, did you seek their help? What sort of support did they offer? No,
they didn't offer any support, in the sense that, one, he was the first child, and his background also played a major role in his, because what I see him do and what people who know them see him do was the same thing his father did to his mom. Okay, so there's that influence of background.
So there's a cultural thing there.
Yes, you know, influence of background. And I also remember, you know, at a point, that time, sometime when he traveled, I had, out of my own magnanimity, said, let me go and visit the dad, you know, in the village. So I gathered everybody, went to visit grandpa. And when it was time to go back, he didn't see why I have to go back to town. He said, what are you going back to Lagos to do? After your husband is not in Nigeria, what are you going back to Lagos to do? Stay here with the children. I said, no, they have to go to school. School for what? What's the essence of training girl children that will go and marry? You know, so you can see that kind of, so when you are raised by that kind of man, I don't think anybody should expect anything. So talking about the siblings also, they couldn't do much. Even the few ones that, I mean, could have said something, they were too young, you know, to have any influence on him. But of course, the sisters were also part of, one of the sisters especially was part of the enablers.
Because I mean, we usually see that every now and then. Even women like you would be encouraging their own, you know, brothers to actually do one or two things.
Everybody, we all have a role to play. I know, and it's to the glory of God, He has used me to restore a lot of people to their homes, to their marriages, because whether we like it or not, marriage is honorable. That's what God says. And we are not advocating divorce. No. Where there is need and genuine repentance, there could be reconciliation. But where that is not possible, please let the abused victim stay away, even if it's for a season. Why healing?
Is it like separation before divorce, or people can actually go straight for divorce?
No, why I say separation before divorce, so that they can create room for reconciliation, depending on the circumstances. All circumstances, because for me, what may be domestic abuse to me may not be domestic abuse to you. There are some people, like, throughout the time I was married, you chasing a woman or seeing you with another woman was never a problem for me, as long as you don't just give me headache. Do you understand? We quarreled about everything. Oh, I saw you with this woman, I saw you. Sometimes he will go, come back midnight, his food is there. Do you understand?
All right. I'm being told my time is almost up with you. But I just want to ask you, how are your girls doing now? I mean,
wonderfully well. Wonderfully well, you know. The girls are doing wonderfully well, and we'll all live to tell our stories one of these days.
And by chance, do we still have a situation whereby, I mean, their dad and yourself, at least you still have some family moments, even though you are no longer married?
No. I have healed. And, you know, for me, it's time to move on. It's 20 years. It's 20 years.
And you build yourself to be a very strong woman, because I can see how confident you are of yourself.
It's time to move on now.
And what will you say to those who are struggling right now, or those who are just coming out of divorce and all of that?
Number one, don't give up on yourself. Number two, as much as it depends on you, forgive. I had to forgive. Because when you don't forgive, I see a lot of women in my clinic, cancer, all manner of chronic diseases, they are bitter. You cannot afford to be bitter. I was bitter for so many years. I had health issues, 2 doses of chemotherapy, chronic ulcer, all manner of things. But I have forgiven. I have let go. And God is my witness. If he has any problem and it is within my power to help, I will help. That doesn't mean we're still going to live together. Okay? So I tell a lot of women, don't allow the bitterness and don't take it out on your children.
All right.
Identify, know who you are, and keep trusting God.
All right. We must thank you so much, Dr. Jackie IKOETUONYE. I mean, you've grown up to be a very strong woman yourself. Strong woman of 4, strong girls too, who are all doing very well. And I mean, it's good news for all of us because I've got 2 daughters myself, and I pick some strength from you here. You're the Chief Executive Officer of BFA Integrative Health and Wellness Clinic, and we can only wish you well.
Thank you so much.
And hope things will keep moving very well. Thank you so much for being with us.